Well, hey y'all.
Hey.
We were just talking off camera. That was so fake. And I'm not editing that out. One, I am definitely excited about this conversation. It has definitely been on my spirit for a minute now since I saw that clip that I sent y'all. But no, like, I know I've heard the angry Black woman phrase for as long as I can remember. And I feel like often when I've heard the conversation around the angry Black woman is, how can I explain? I feel like I've never really heard about what causes the woman to be angry, or even I've never heard a conversation that validates the Black woman's anger, right? It's always around well, you shouldn't be angry, or that men don't want that, or this, that, and the third, or you just bitter, or you just jaded, and this, that, and the third, and don't be that woman. And I'm like, but we never humanize. It's like, as soon as she becomes an angry Black woman, she's no longer a human being. She's not entitled to her feelings. So I definitely want to create a space for us, particularly our generation, because I feel like millennials, I know we talk a lot about Generation Z, but I'm sorry, millennials, we crawled and walked.
Right.
So y'all could run. I really consider they need to rename our generation as the disruptors.
And is.
Right? Because between the baby boomers and even Generation X, and I'm pretty within every generation, there was some group of revolutionary folks
shifters,
level, and I want to acknowledge that. But I really feel like our generation was the one that halted some shit. Wait, this is not right.
It was almost, it's moving from this state of kind of awareness to actual transformation.
Right.
I always say millennials are going to save the world.
Well, it's like the shirt says, I'm not my grandmother, I will lay my hands on.
Right.
And let's be clear, there was some grandmas back in the day laying.
Right, it was. I know one of them.
Yeah, so before we get started, I know y'all, but let's introduce everyone else to y'all. So for one, I Hear You Sis is a space for Black women to not just share their own experiences, but to begin to create a practice around controlling their own narrative, because I feel like for so long, I think about Erykah Badu's songs, Clever, not Clever, certainly, I give you permission, to have ownership over me and tell me who I could be. So that's what this space is really about. And today's topic is clearly around just not the angry Black woman, but justifiable anger in Black women. So I'm going to pass it over to my girls with Tyler. She can introduce herself and who she repping, where she from, and we'll go over to Tanisha.
I should have said what you repping do, but I didn't do that. My name is Tyler. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, but I'm currently living in New Orleans, Louisiana. What brought me here is I'm in the field of higher education, but I think specifically how I can add just another level of intentionality to this conversation is through my research. I'm currently a doctoral candidate at Baylor, graduating in 2022, degree.
Yay!
But my area is in Black feminist thought and creating counter spaces for women of color at predominantly white institutions and organizations.
So therefore, we got credentials up in here.
What she said.
There's credibility.
I said put some respect, right?
Yeah, there's some credibility to what is going to be talked about in this space.
So I'm Tanisha Manning. These are always kind of awkward for me. So
right.
Pardon the awkwardness. But no, I'm from Uptown DC. I like to tell people I'm a creative in spirit, but I am a project manager by trade. That's my skill. I put the events and everything together. But I feel mostly attached to this because it's kind of like my own personal advocacy. I'm very much a believer of doing what you can where you are. That was the basis of me and my best friend's podcast, Whilst We Roll. That's kind of my own little creative space to like Shanice said, and that's kind of like where our friendship really started to align is this desire to help people share and create their own narratives. So I'm just really excited to continue those conversations, those very vital conversations to our communities.
Yes, I love y'all introductions because
Aww.
no, like for real. I realized I'm like, I ain't say shit about myself because I get awkward too. I be like, pass it to someone else.
Right.
Yeah, like, well, how happy why did I say that? But no, I love it because y'all didn't like. I'm at this point now where I'm learning not to define myself what I've been able to produce, but really being clear about my identity and my own personal mission as a Black woman. And that's what I got from both of y'all introductions. So I'm like, come on, set the atmosphere.
I love that.
Yeah.
So let's just jump straight into it. For starters, what even inspired this conversation was a couple months ago. I was on Instagram and my friend posted this video in her story. And when I watched it, my mind was completely blown because I remember when I was watching Soul Food growing up, how old y'all were your first watch Soul Food?
Probably 8.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was definitely young, too young
that was
to
the
really
Love
understand
Jones era. There was a lot going on at that time.
Yeah, and I think it came out in 97, 98.
Wow.
One of those years. And I remember like going to the movie theater with my mom and her girlfriend to go see it. And even at a young age, like clearly we weren't 10. And I saw the character Terry. I did not like her. I thought she had a bad attitude.
Right.
And it was just like, even when she got cheated on in some regard, I felt like, well, yeah, you deserved to. You was mean. And they were even alluding to that in the movie. We're like, girl, that's why you're on husband number 2. Yes,
right, because you didn't take care of home. Yeah.
The same attitude. But when I saw this video and when the commentator, she told it from the perspective of like, from Terry's point of view, or like why she has some of this anger. When I tell you, like I said, it completely blew my mind. So I'm going to share the clip and then we can give our reaction.
Go and rewatch movies that we watched and loved as children and analyze them from our now adult perspectives. First movie on my list is Soul Food. Now, Soul Food, watching that as a child, was just regular family drama, blah, 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 Black trauma, blah, 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 siblings don't get along, right? And I could always remember thinking this character, Terry, was just so mean. Like, I'm watching her navigate through her family with an attitude. She always got something slick to say. She's always got an attitude with everybody. And as a child, I was thinking, yo, I never want to end up like that. Like, she's just mad negative. Okay, so let's really break down why Terry was so nasty and negative with everyone all the time. Let's start with this sister, Maxine. Maxine goes and steals the person who took Terry's virginity. He was Terry's first love. She goes and has children with him, marries him, and proceeds to throw it in Terry's face for the next 10, 15 years.
Wow.
The mother, watching all of this, chimes in with the chuckles and the laughs and goes, well, maybe you keep your first husband if you had such a better attitude. That's why you always acting like that. Like she's egging on the sibling rivalry instead of telling her daughter Maxine, yo, watch your mouth and leave your sister alone. Now you have the sister Bird. When I was a child, I was like, yo, I want to be like Bird because in my mind, Bird stayed out of everything. Like Bird just seemed like neutral. She didn't want any drama. She didn't want to partake in bothering either sister. But when you rewatch that movie as an adult, you see that Bird borrowed money from Terry to start her hair salon business. Terry doesn't have a problem with that up until Bird goes and gets married to some broke man who cannot support her. And her and said broke man moves into the mother's house that Terry is also taking care of and paying for. So now Terry is dealing with the financial burden of her own household. She's dealing with the financial burden of her mother's house, her sister's business, and paying all these bills by herself while everybody looks at her like, girl, why you always got an attitude? On top of all of that, her mother then gets sick. So then she becomes responsible for all the medical bills of her mother as her mother is in the hospital. So in the midst of her dealing with the financial burden of taking care of her sister and her mom. She's dealing with the emotional abuse of her sister who stole her first love, rubbing it in her face for the rest of her life. Her husband is coming out of the blue talking about, babe, I want to be a singer. So Terry is just like, I don't have time for this right now. Like, you're a lawyer. Basically, get out my face. You see what I'm going through. I don't have time for the hopes in your dreams. My mom is dying, bro.
Hey, no, for real.
My mom is dying, bro.
Put up the cousin because Terry has to do everything. And the cousin goes in her house and convinces Terry's husband that she doesn't love him and she sleeps with her husband. Like, it's a mess. Wow. She is the perfect example of being a good person, but being surrounded by a toxic and a using family that will paint you as the villain and completely ignore the things they do to you to make you that way.
All right. First off, so what are y'all initial reactions to the video, Tanisha?
Initial reaction is just like I feel it. Like I can't get that clip out of my head when she was like, my mother's dying, bro. Like, it's like, no, what the hell? But initially what pops up is that, I completely agree. Like and I feel like you kind of hit on it initially. We don't look at the root causes of why these women are irritated and angry. And it's like, you're dealing with that emotional, those emotions of anger, which I will say, what is the whole point? And I feel like anger, one, is a symptom of something else. You know what I'm saying? So let's start there. We're not even talking about the root causes and trying to understand what is the primary emotion over the anger. And then that leads and compounds into more anger because you're not being validated by people who you are pouring into and who is supposed to pour back into you. So, but what also comes up for me a little bit is how much of that is self-inflicted, and I guess I can say that because I do kind of see myself as a Terry in my family. I never grew up impoverished or anything like that, but did we have everything we needed? No. I always kind of joke and be like, well, I grew up kind of hood adjacent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't in it, but I was right across the street from that motherfucker. You know what I mean? So, I get it. I'm a first generation college student in my primary family. My youngest uncle was the only one out of my grandparents' kids to go and finish college. So, it's a little bit of a different dynamic, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of see myself in that a little bit because, do they come to me in those exact ways? Like, oh, Tanisha, can I? Maybe not, but I feel a sense of responsibility, because my life is set up on a different trajectory than theirs has been, and I'm the type of person innately, if I can do it, if I can help, then that's what I'm going to do, but it can become a lot. And long and short, that responsibility can be self-inflicted, and how reasonable is it, especially depending on their own level of emotional intelligence and things like that, is it for people who are receiving a benefit to actively stop it, So that's when it's up to us to kind of put our own kind of like boundaries and things aware. But that takes a lot of unlearning and work internally in itself. It could be a lot.
Definitely. Tyler, like, have you had similar experiences in your own family? Was there a Terry? And if so, like, what was some of the treatment towards that person, or how did you perceive that person?
I am the Terry, like Tanisha, to be honest.
I am the Terry.
Right.
I am the Terry.
I am Terry. I'm gonna get a shirt that says that. I am Terry in my family. And when I looked, Tanisha, you said a lot of stuff, but when I looked at that clip, all I could think about was gaslighting and how that happens to older siblings a lot of times, because it's like there's this internalized pressure, yes, but there's also a societal pressure for the oldest Black sibling to take on the pressure and the load. Like Terry didn't have the luxury that Bird had to just come in and say, I'm gonna be a hairstylist, or I'm gonna do this. Like Terry had to kind of model the way and shoulder a lot of the things that her mom didn't have the capacity or the exposure or knowledge to take care of, right? So then it's like always our job. I put quotation marks because maybe we think it, but maybe it's just been assumed from everybody in our family and we've never unpacked that, we'll plan the trips, or I'll take care of them, I'll send them the money this month. Like, so I felt like her mom gaslighted her, and her sisters did too. And that wasn't always fair because she had to, she had to internalize all that and like really like just be the bigger person always. And that can be so exhausting to be like, I'm older, so I'll reach out first, or I'm older, so I'll do that, and it's not fair because sometimes our parents or guardians or whomever subconsciously project that on us.
Yeah, no, you definitely hit something with that generation, because I'm the oldest as well. You know what I'm saying? And not only am I the oldest, I'm the only girl. So there's a little bit of that too. And my mom gets a little, or she used to get a little on edge, but I remember I heard this saying, mothers love their sons and raise their daughters.
I heard that.
So yeah, you definitely hit something with that. Being the daughter, being the oldest, that responsibility does kind of innately go on you. I've been telling my brothers, I've been cooking small meals, washing clothes, ironing uniform. I've been doing all that shit for myself since I was 9.
Right.
So yeah, you definitely hit something with that.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm the baby. So I haven't. It's complex because even though I didn't have the pressure, I still felt it because I'm the first generation college student as well. And even just the way that I move is a lot differently than my family members. Like within my intermediate family, the first one to start her own business and all the territory that comes with that. And I definitely felt the pressure. But when I first watched that video, the reason why I was mind blown is because one, I had to search my own heart because I'm like, damn, I was one of them ones like, I can't stand Terry. Like I was, like one, not validating her anger, and it had me go down a rabbit hole. And I was like, damn, how often? Of course, it's expected from other folk outside of our community, particularly white folk, but not all white folk. Let me be clear.
Right.
I don't need
most of them.
Throw that out there.
Let me just throw be politically correct. Not all, but a great number of them. Where it's just been expected of us to like be work mules, right? Or sex objects, and just take all this shit and do so much with a smile on our face and to be content. But I didn't realize like a lot of that behavior is also engraved in us as a Black community, and how dismissive we are towards each other, and even how Black women, we're dismissive towards ourselves when it comes to our anger. So that's what made me think about like, damn, before we start like directing the attention towards our white counterparts and telling them like, no, you need to humanize us. No, we have a right to be mad and have that emotion just as well as Susie and Becky, who is having a tough day and she got sent home, but I get written up, like shit like that. But honestly, there have been plenty of times where I've been angry and I've had my own to tell me, no, don't give them, that's the reaction they expect from us. No, you need to be a queen. What does being a queen? I mean, what does like being angry have to do with like not being a queen? Like I could be a queen and still be pissed off.
Queens are diplomatic.
Like understand like queens are always just prim and proper and smiley and just like that and pleasant. Like no, we're fully recognized human beings. Go ahead.
You know what? What's funny to me is kind of like the contradiction in that, because like when I hear someone say like, "Oh, you a king, you a queen," da 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 da, and I'm not one to just kind of lead with it. But if you kind of back me in the corner, I'm gonna have to back you the fuck up off me too. You know what I mean? Like if I can sit up here and hold myself in such a high regard to the point where I'm just like, oh, I'm a queen, but yet I'm supposed to
suppress,
right? You know what I'm saying? If I'm a queen, you about to catch all this shit because I'm the right. Like, so it's just that contradiction is just kind of weird.
It's like being palatable.
You don't expect, right? You don't expect any other queen or authority figure, whoever, to suppress or diminish on behalf of subjects, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, for me, you know, I had to check myself because I realized, like, damn, I've been a part of the problem too, because I was saying that about the Terrys of the world too. Like, dang, girl, why you all in your feelings? Like, it's all right, you know. But no, like, getting to a point where, like, well, sis, what is going on, and how many people were checking? Like that scene,
the context.
Right.
Yeah, that scene, her boiling point when she grabbed that knife and went off. That was her moment. Like, party. Like, see me. Like, stop telling me what I ought to do and how I should feel. Like, no, yes, I'm mad. I'm angry. And I'm not going to, like, take this with a smile on my face and be content. And so, which goes into our next question around, like, you know, what is our definition of an angry Black woman? Which, that's a whole
that's hard.
Loaded question. So yeah, I would say this. Let's kind of break it down into chunks. When you hear the term angry Black woman, what do you feel? Like, and why? Like, what is triggered?
And you know, and let me say, I've definitely been one to say that too. You know what I mean? I even have, you know, felt that I've worked with a few of them, like, you know, so you're definitely not alone in kind of those preconceived judgments. And when I typically think about it, you know, I typically think of those type of women. You know, they are seemingly, you know, like on the surface, they present bitter, a little closed off, and just closed off, a little jaded, you know what I'm saying? But that's why I said initially, I feel like anger is just a symptom of something else. And I'm not trying to, you know, speak or put pain on people, but I'm a Cancer. So let me say that first. Like, I'm all about recognizing the internal pain and the hurt. And a lot of us, regardless of where that comes from, carry around a lot of pain. So I feel like even though, and it is off-putting, just if we're going to be honest, it is off-putting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to kind of get to you to start establishing that intimacy and that trust that would allow you to bring those down. You know what I'm saying? So it can be off-putting, but I do, you know, after I kind of give myself some time to think about it, I tend to realize, you know, they might be dealing with some shit that I have absolutely no idea about. You know what I'm saying? And there's probably a very good reason why they are guarded, why they don't trust people. You know what I'm saying? So, but initially I feel that it's mostly guarding, you know what I'm saying? Mostly having walls up. And it's kind of hard to permeate that.
That's good.
So that's what kind of rises initially.
Yeah. Tyler?
I was gonna say, I think of two things when I think of angry Black woman. And the first thing I thought about was like this James Baldwin quote that's like, to be, I might be misquoting.
Yes,
but to be Negro and to be conscious means you're in a constant state of rage. So then I think about the Hulk. And they ask the Hulk, like, what makes you get mad? I'm always mad. Like, so I think about that. And then I think about Erykah Badu, Bag Lady, because it's like, just like you said, Tanisha, we're carrying around all these bags. And while it might be off-putting, like, because I realize everybody has context that they show up with. But I'm like, can we like project as women of color, Black women especially, we keep perpetuating that narrative, but there's never been environments created for us to thrive or to let our bags down. So like when I see an angry Black woman, I'm like, or when I feel like I'm angry, well, this environment never created the space for me to let my bags down or to heal or to unlearn this or to not have my guard up or to be vulnerable. Like, so I think it takes environment and context in order for us to thrive and to negate the Black woman trope of like, we're always angry or things like that. And I think, honestly, that's a divisive like ideology that's been placed on us. Yep. You're angry. Like, why are you angry? Let's start with 1619. I mean, like, where do you want to go with that?
Right. Like, how far back do you want to go?
Like, let's start. Since we're here, let's do this.
No, when I hear the term angry Black woman, I'm triggered personally. Like, I'm triggered because I feel like that label has been used to disarm us and dehumanize us and basically say we don't have a right to react, to have a human reaction, a justifiable human reaction, and that term has been used to disarm us in such a way for us to be attacked and for us to not feel safe. So, before we started recording, we were talking about like practices of grounding. I've been in spaces where I didn't start my days off grounding and meditating. I started my days off armoring myself and guarding myself like I was going to war. Like, I think about, I'm watching the Kanye documentary Genius. And like, if you know, I used to play Spaceships from College Dropout every fucking morning before work. And I used to loop that part. What is he say? I'm gonna wind up assaulting my manager. No, he was like, somebody assaults me, I'm gonna wind up assaulting them after I
that girl, Kanye is problematic.
That part, I'm like, because I'm like, I need to go to war because that's, and you talk about environment, Tyler, because that's what that environment was doing to me. And I particularly remember my first year teaching, and this is why, like I said, this term, it angers me, is because there was a situation where, I'll try to keep the story short. But I was a teacher, and we had what we call like dismissal duties. So every teacher was assigned to a different post, and I and this other teacher, who was a white woman, were assigned to this classroom at dismissal. And so one particular day, my partner, the other teacher, I don't know what she was doing, but she wasn't able to be at the post with me. And I'm like, it's cool, I can hold it down or whatever. And it was one particular day, I was tired and I was sitting down. I was like, as long as y'all don't tear this fucking classroom up, like,
I don't care what you do.
Whatever, right.
Like, just don't act the ass, okay?
Right.
And so dismissal is over, the kids are done, are gone. And so this was like a half day. And I remember like going to my classroom to go get my wallet, to go get lunch. And as I'm getting ready to walk out to go down the staircase, I hear one of the other teachers screaming, "Bird, let them steal my shit. Bird, let them take my shit." And mind you, it's all our colleagues who are predominantly white. It's only 2 Black people, being another teacher. When I tell you, I hit a pivot turn real quick. I said, "Excuse me, what?" Wow. And she was like, "You let them steal my wallet and my phone." And I'm so confused because I don't know what the hell is going on. Right. I'm like, first off, like, Bird ain't letting nobody steal shit. Like, what do you, and that's what I was like,
I'm not a thief.
What are you talking about?
Right.
And so when she being all emotional, she was like, my phone was sitting on the desk, so when you left your phone,
save your tears.
I was about to say that sounds like a personal problem.
You left your phone, your wallet, and candy.
And you knew where you were at.
Right. And I'm not like, this isn't a dig at my kids, because that's a whole nother conversation. One, it was problematic on so many ends because Black kids, they stole one. A Black teacher let Black kids steal from me as a white woman.
Right.
And so, but you're blasting this out because you're having an emotional human reaction.
Right.
So And this is like I said in front of all our white staff. Clearly, I'm still triggered because I feel like I went back to that. I'm trying to go back to that day.
It made you mad.
She's telling what happened. I was like, but the teacher who had her stuff stolen, this wasn't my partner at dismissal, it was another woman. And so my partner's standing right there. And I'm like looking to her to defend me. I'm like, what is she talking about?
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, first off, me and Gallagher both have that post. So why aren't both of our names being brought up? And she's like, you know, looking like I don't want to be caught in this. And so I said, first of all, like, I don't appreciate you throwing salt on my name. I was like, in front of our staff, you could have came straight to me and we could have dealt with this because I don't even know what you're talking about. And so she was like, and then there's another white woman who has nothing to do with the situation. And this is who I still got beef with. It ain't even her, it's this one over here. She was like, oh my God, how could you talk to her that way when she's going through this? Of letting black children steal from a white woman.
What you're not about to do is make a scene out of me.
Yeah, I'm like, she's verbally attacking me in front of everyone. And you're like, poor her.
But see, they can talk like that. They can be the victim. We can't.
Yeah, and it's like, why are you talking to her like that? And then so the one was like, you're right. Can we talk about it? I said, I can't talk to you right now. I said, because I'm angry and I needed a moment to calm down. And I walked, and then as I'm walking away, she's like, oh, poor thing. All she wanted to do was talk to you. Lord Jesus. And so I walked away. I go calm down. And one of my colleagues, who's my sister to this day, she's a black woman, but she was one of the ones, she was like, man, I heard what happened. She was like, and one, she wasn't even there to witness it, but she was like, you can't get like that. You know, you can't get on the reaction that they want. You got to be a queen and this, that, and the third. I was like, hey, fuck that. Like,
I'm not trying to hear that.
I was like, no. I said, no, bro. I said, one, I took that personally on so many levels. I said, one is my place of like where I work.
Right.
Essentially, like
that's what they're trying to smear my character.
Yeah, you smear my character.
So you talking about me at this point. And my dog.
Yeah, and I made the song was longer than what I thought it would because clearly I'm still emotionally tied. But it ended up, she pulled me to the woman who had her stuff stolen. She pulled me to the side later on that day and was like, oh, I'm sorry. One, I didn't get a public apology, but I digress. I'm sorry. It's just, I was stressed. You know, it's Mardi Gras weekend and, you know, I lost my wallet and my phone. And so I had people coming. So I was just trying to figure out how I was going to get that done. I was like, I understand that, but let me tell you something. I was like, I've had things stolen from me before, from my own family. So I know what that feels like. I would never allow anyone in my presence to steal from someone else. So that was problem number one. Two, you didn't come directly to me. Three, you talked about me and embarrassed me in front of our entire staff.
Right.
That's why we're having this conversation. And so it was still like, oh, you know, sorry. So all in all, that whole angry black woman, I feel like one, y'all were basically telling me, one over here was basically saying, I don't have a right to have a reaction. So she has a right to basically yell. She was yelling. She was on the opposite end of the hallway. So clearly I could hear her. But had that been me, I never raised my voice. You know what I'm saying? But had that been me, I would be a villain. So
right. I was just about to say that goes back to what we said about before the recording about tone policing, because we always feel like our every word is going to be scrutinized because it is, and we always have to overexert this apologetic stance or like let's debrief that or let's circle back. Let's circle back to what happened earlier. No, I don't need to circle back, and I don't need to explain. I don't need to apologize because I was impacted in this way, and it's a cause and effect. Like you said earlier, Tanisha, like it's a cause and effect. There's a reason why I said what I said because you triggered me and you knew you did. And a lot of times white women use protective pillows, right? And they code it in, I was just trying to, no, you knew what you were doing. You were gaslighting me. You were trying to trigger me so that I would respond in a way that only brought victimize you and made it seem so like you were so palatable in this moment.
Right.
No, you provoked me.
Right.
And I'm supposed to sit there and be like, ooh, sticks and stones, sticks and stones.
No.
You can have your Tasmanian devil moment.
Right.
But I am the villain. And I feel like, Tanisha was kind of talking about this earlier. I would say this, I believe there is a spectrum to the angry Black woman. There are women on the far end who are just like full of rage. And it may be coming from a place, it is a trauma response. And I don't want to be dismissive towards that, but there are Black women on that side of the spectrum that intentionally want to be of malice, right? They are trying to be harmful and hurt other people in the process. We ain't talking about them. We gonna pray for them. Right. We talking about.
Right.
I mean, girl,
we can't learn that.
Nothing I can do.
Like, girl, pray for the settlement of your spirit. But we talking about like just us just having a moment where we are attacked, and like you said, Tyler, where we are intentionally provoked. You know what reaction you gonna get, but you want to see how far I'm going to go. And you're right, I am a queen because I never called you out of your name, and I could have.
Right.
I could have drug your ass.
Could have. And still will.
Right, and that's where the part of being a queen or grace comes in from, but not the whole let me not be angry because I'm a queen and I see that. But my bad, Tanisha, I cut you out. What you about to say?
Oh, no. I was just thinking because as you're talking, like clearly I'm having a physical response. Like my knee ain't stopped bouncing since you started.
Me too.
And I feel like what
my bad, y'all.
It's just that lack of patience. Like people, that I feel like that's also a part of this justifiable anger at this point. You know what I'm saying? And kind of tying it to the conversation we were having about being a part of a different generation that actually, I'm not gonna say actually, because I feel like sometimes it takes away from those that did, but like being more intentional about expressing that shit. You know, like I just feel myself, I'll speak for myself. I am at a level, and I'm just keeping it a buck, especially with these white people. Like I am just at my limit trying to be patient with y'all. And it's like, I feel like that's a part of the anger that you don't see as well. Like I'm angry because I'm frustrated too. I'm trying to navigate all these different things that's coming out, like you kind of said about the tone police. I'm trying to watch my tone, even though I understand that that's just me internalizing shit to make me more palatable for you. I understand all that, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm speaking in a way that actually gets my point across. So we're not arguing about different things. I'm trying to clear your motherfucking ass too. You know what I mean? Like navigating all these different things, and that shit, that's frustrating. Like that, I don't know. I just had to kind of get that out because it's bubbling now. Like, how dare you? Like, they all like you, but I feel like Tyler said it. You always look at the response and not what caused it.
Right.
Like, you're not looking at all this over here that led you to getting your ass drugged in this moment right now.
Right.
This is just a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I would hate, because I did want to know, like, had y'all had similar experience, but clearly. You was like, I don't need to read that. Just like, because I feel like angry Black woman I feel like it's a blanket statement. I often feel like it's perceived as like this villainous character, right? Whereas what I said earlier, I think there's a spectrum to things. I feel like we dichotomize shit so fucking much. It's like it's either you're an angry Black woman, or you're a kind Black woman. You're grounded in this, that, and the third. It's like, no, I'm both. I'm light and I'm dark. I'm fire, and all that. But yeah, I just wanted to know. Well, better yet, because like I said, we could talk about how these white folks label us and perceive
all day,
and their reaction to our responses. But I would say I'm learning the change, the revolution has to begin with us as Black women, and I think that we have to spend a lot more time diving into our own psyches and like rewiring a lot of like what's going on in, like I said, our subconscious minds and how it's perpetuating our behavior. Because I'm at a point now, like my ministry is not to convert white folk who die by the code of white supremacy culture. Like I told you, I've been watching this Genius documentary. Like I ain't trying to convert atheists into believers. Like that's I'm not trying to make you believer of Black women, but I do. My call to action is to Black women. So, do y'all think y'all have ever been guilty of passing judgment? Because I know towards another Black woman, another angry Black woman, for being angry without having full context of her emotions.
Yeah. I mean, I can say I absolutely have. It doesn't happen often, but like I said, the instances that pop up most immediately in my head are like those my colleagues. I've definitely I've definitely passed some judgment, and a lot of it, most of the times, is when I'm in my own stressful situations. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So like, initially that judgment does come up, but that's why I was like, and I didn't say it initially, but it just kind of thinking in my head as the conversations happen. I feel like that's why critical thinking and emotional intelligence is so important, because it helps you kind of figure out how you like, you can gauge your own self, you know what I'm saying? And then from that point, how your interactions kind of shape with other people. And I think that's a lot of what's lacking in those snap judgments. And I hate to sound so critical because I love my people, but it's just like, I need us, or I would like to see more emphasis placed on thinking a little bit more critically and being a little bit more emotionally intelligent and self-aware, like, because we can kind of avoid those confrontational interactions with each other, and like I keep saying, realizing that the anger is most likely from another source that don't even have shit to do with what's going on in this situation here, and I know that might sound a little utopian, if you will, but I think it's plausible. I think it's possible. It just has to, people just have to, one, realize the significance and have the willingness to want to do the work internally. It can't just be all on like-minded people, you know what I'm saying? But I do also agree with you too. I feel like that's a major part of protecting your peace. Some people are just on the further end of the spectrum, right? And I realize we're not having the same conversation, and we probably won't. So but the majority of us that fit on in that middle part of that spectrum, like, that's I think that's our personal responsibility.
I definitely have something. I have a reaction to that, but I want to pass it to Tyler.
No, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Tanisha. I think self-awareness is such a huge part of it. I'm just thinking back on so many interactions where I've shown up to a brunch or to an event, a space like this, where there's like a divisiveness, right? I don't know her, so I don't know her, so I'm not going to engage with her, or like, there's just, we automatically go into a and I think it's crab in the bucket. I hate to say that because I don't think any of us are clawing for opportunity and not wanting the other person to get something, but I think it's just like this air or space we have of not being self-aware or not allowing ourselves to be communal, and that's only hurt Black women. Is like, I'm not saying we all got to be best friends or we all got to be like, sis, I see you, I feel you, I love you. But we should, essentially, because it's us against us. Like, if we would be more collective and cohesive, we might be able to unlearn.
From a place of compassion.
Right.
Like, I don't have to know or agree or be parallel exactly to your experience. At least have enough compassion for you as a fellow Black woman, as a fellow Black person, as a fellow human, to give you a little bit of space and a little bit of grace.
I see you and I hear you.
That's honestly, that's all people need really to be disarmed.
Right.
Like, that's the crazy part about it. They just need to be seen and heard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you were talking about like doing the inner work, the reason why I'm like, yes, and in that same breath, I don't know about y'all, but for me, it's exhausting as hell. It's not so much the inner work, like the work is validating in itself, right? When you start to see the changes within yourself and like you respond and you look at things differently, I'm like, oh, look at me out here growing. But it's exhausting when a lot of people around you aren't on that same wave and you feel like you're doing majority of the emotional and mental labor in the relationship, even if it's like in a work environment where, go ahead.
No, I didn't want to cut you off. I just was putting my hand up to say I had something to say.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
Right.
I gotta catch
I'm
it.
back to you.
No, I don't want you to stop what you're saying. I will remember. I'm gonna write it down.
I got you. No, but it was just like, it's exhausting having to be the one like, okay, well, I know this isn't really about me. This is coming from a different place. And like me being practicing that emotional intelligence, right? Like, all right, but the other person on the other end is not doing that, right? And this is, I feel like as Black women, we bear the brunt of that too, because a lot of us are doing the inner work. We are going to therapy. We're going to spaces like this where we're conversing, we're trying to stretch our thinking, and even like I said, when I saw that video, I had to call myself out. Like, damn, I've been guilty of this myself. But it becomes exhausting when I'm constantly. Well, I feel like I'm the leader in a sense where I'm doing the heavy lifting for folks. I'm like, oh, you know what? I didn't think of it like that. Well, damn it, I'm gonna need y'all to start practicing. Right. It's a lot, but Tyler, you were gonna.
I'm sorry, I wrote it down. Both of you all are talking about like the internal work, but I think about like season 4 with Molly and Issa, where they were not connecting. Issa was doing the internal work to be emotionally intelligent and to be present and to be loving and releasing of her guards. But why was Molly mad at her? Like, so there was a piece where Molly was mad at her success, mad at her, like, why are you different? Like, so I'm wondering, like, do we truly want Black women to grow and to unlearn and to be compassionate? Or are we gonna look at them like, girl, why you acting like Iyanla? Like, why you so peaceful? Why you talking about grounded? Like, so it's like, but sis, do you want me to be mad all the time? So why is it we expect our friends to stay in that same space? And we can do it, like we can do the work, but we can't reciprocate like when somebody's just as emotionally intelligent or willing to unlearn and unravel in certain spaces.
Initially, I feel like it's because we tend to be creatures of habit and comfort. You know, we tend to like things to stay the same. But I also feel like it's the unfortunate reality of you can't take everybody with you. You know what I mean? I love how that played out, because I feel like in Insecure and even in my own life, you know, I've been lucky to grow with my friends. You know what I mean? So I'm glad in the show they were able to come back together. But, you know, in reality, a lot of the time, and I think, you know, that's when we have to, that's why doing the work is important. And, you know, keeping kind of our, not in a selfish way, but keeping our intentions kind of top of mind, because like I just said, that's the unfortunate reality. You're not going to be able to take everybody with you. All you can do, like Shanize said, I'm not trying to convert. You know what I'm saying? Either you want to hear it, feel it, and come along, or you're not. And how much effort you give to that probably depends on how, you know, tight and intimate the relationship is. But, you know, you might have to come to an uncomfortable, unfortunate decision that I can't bring you with me then.
That's a tough reality. And but I feel like we don't move at the same pace.
Yeah, that's what it is.
No matter how close we are. And I've had to deal with that reality, not just with my friends, but family.
That's
Like,
what I was going to say. It's
I
hard.
realized that respectfully, in ways I've outgrown my parents. Like, like as far as emotional intelligence and maturity, I've surpassed
Well,
them.
they never had the tools.
Yeah.
Exactly. They never had them.
They never had the tools. And that's why I said respectfully and humbly.
Right.
Because it isn't to like, diminish them or anyway. Like, I feel like there's still things I can learn from both of them. Absolutely. But yeah, like my family as a whole, as a collective, I realized like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Like, I definitely am on a whole nother wave right now. And it's not about me being better than y'all or more like higher and mighty than y'all. It's just no, like, I don't want to know pain and trauma my entire life. I don't want that to be my reality. I don't want to be complicit in that. Like, God didn't put me here to just be in strife all the damn all the time. And I want to like be in healthy relationships where we can communicate, and it doesn't have to be we pissed off so we just like abandon each other, we leave and wait till the dust settles, or we let our pride get in the way when you gonna have to apologize to me first. Like, no, like, let's address it, let's talk about it, let's name the thing, let's have some restorative justice here so we can move on. But I understand like that's a learned behavior, and I'm grateful that I have the tools and I continue to acquire the tools, but I'm learning to be at peace. Like, okay, we can't be as close and intimate as we were before. And I'm learning now, you don't have to cut people completely off, but definitely have to shift and reconfigure people, because that's protecting your own peace and your own sanity. Like, some friends, I felt like I started feeling like the mother. And every time we talked, like, they're talking about the same shit we were talking about 5 years ago. Like, I'm like, okay. So at what point are you gonna realize like you're an active participant and why things aren't shifting for you? Like, change your perspective on this and do that. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like the auntie in the group. I want to feel like I'm amongst peers. So I'm like, all right, we could kick it, but not in this capacity, because I feel like I'm being drained, or I feel like I'm being self-righteous, because I feel like I'm talking at you and not really like with you. That makes sense. So as we get ready to close out, like thinking about, because clearly a lot of emotions with me, bubbled up around just this idea of being angry, and not even just like the treatment from our white counterparts, but from our own family. But like, in what ways can we do better as a collective? I think we've lifted some of those things up in this conversation, just around individually doing the work. But as far as like a collective of Black women, how can we begin to do better as far as like, whether it's, validating our anger, and what are some tools that we can exercise to just help Black women? Like, no, you have a right to be angry. Don't stew in it. That's one thing I love about Solange's song Mad, which was an inspiration for this conversation too, where she was like, no, you have a right to be mad, like feel it because it's real, but don't live in it, don't dwell in it. So what are some personal tools or advice y'all have?
I think I've learned mostly, and not just in this conversation, just other conversations that we've had, about how to do something. And I hate to say it this way, but I think I've ultimately just learned that the only way to actually start is to do, right? Like, I realized as I've grown, like I said, you weren't the only person that's made those snap judgments on people and all that type of stuff. But through my own growth, I've had to apply, actually apply what it is that I've learned. And it is first leading with grace, understanding, especially now that these past couple of years have been insane for people, like, whether you feel like you're kind of mourning your past way of life, whether you're actually mourning somebody, you know, whether you're dealing with your own mental health, whatever it is, people are dealing with a lot of shit. And if you can recognize that you are dealing with stuff, you have to recognize that these other people are dealing with shit too. So, you know, it sounds so super corny, but I mean, it really is kind of like a lead with how you would want to be treated. And I do think understanding that not everybody can come with you. I name it. I think that there's such a thing as healthy confrontation. And like what you were saying about your parents, Shanice, I've had to come to my own conclusions, you know, and through things that have happened in our family, I've actually had to express that in a gentle way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are asking me for my help. I love you. I don't mind giving you my help, but a condition of my help is actually listening to what the hell it is I'm saying to you.
Right.
Because, and I said it maybe in a harsh way, but it was direct. I am smarter than you in this area.
We ain't tone policing.
Right.
I had to tell my mom, I'm smarter than you in this aspect. I have a different level of awareness and I have a different level of tools. That is why you're subconsciously leaning on me, because I'm giving you something that you can't give yourself. So when I'm trying to actually help you, give that to yourself, you need to listen, you know? So I think that you lead with it. As you work through it, you try to meet them kind of where they're at, help them help themselves, all that type of stuff, have those conversations. Because I mean, I also believe you can learn from people too, you know what I'm saying? As y'all are working through that, you might realize some shit on your own self, you know what I mean? But then ultimately it comes down, because I do heavily believe in protecting your peace. If you realize that these people can't come with you, they just can't come with you, you know, and it's tough, but you deal with that when you get there. But I think ultimately we have to start naming it. We have to realize everybody's carrying something, and the more, little by little, I always remember this saying, little by little, a little becomes a lot. So in this case, the small, you might start with dropping your purse, you know, and then you might drop the spend a night bag. You know, you still might have those big 2 luggage cases with you, but you're still
dropping pieces here and there.
Right. And little by little, you're gonna be like, oh shit, I done unpacked. You know what I mean? So
right, that's good.
I don't know. I know that was kind of a long-winded way, but that's really the only thing that's really the only thing I can think of. You have to make the decision to start, do it. Be adaptable as you go through it. And if you realize you're hitting that wall and you can't get out of that toxic environment, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that has a lot to do with it too. And I know we're wrapping up, but you know, if you realize that the toxicity is still there, you know what I'm saying? You got to get yourself up out of that.
That's good.
To work on your own anger and to protect your own fucking peace.
And before Tyler goes, I want to lift up, I think not only do we have to stop tone policing, we have to stop cutting ourselves off. I know I do it too.
Yeah,
I've been talking too long. I think because we have been conditioned to be seen and not heard. And because once again, these white men are not moving and thinking like that. They will go on and
all day talking about nothing.
Talking about nothing. Okay.
Shit to the face.
The only thing that made sense that came out their mouth is when they said their name. Like,
right.
Like talking about. So no, sis, go. But Tyler.
I think it really is about honoring our bodies and honoring our capacity. I think people have been using capacity and boundaries a lot in these few years, but really capacity doesn't just mean like, what can you pick up and take off of your plate? It's more about where is your mental, spiritual, emotional health at? And what is my capacity to engage or disengage? And I think our bodies physically react to stress and trauma, like, and we feel it, like we feel like tension here. And it's like what you said earlier, Shanice, about like just grounding and pausing and taking those few extra moments to breathe or connect with nature or walk barefoot, like whatever it is to kind of recenter you. Because nobody's going to do that for you. You have to do that for yourself so that you can say, okay, there's a lot going on. I need to reshift and readjust, not shape shift, because that's different. I'm just saying, like, readjust your stance, like, you know, how you're rooted, right? I think that that'll help us be more intuitive of certain spaces. I mean, but most of it is really like what we've been talking about all day, reclaiming your narrative and your language so that when you can be able to like vocally and verbally say, this is impacting me in this way, and this is how I'm responding, because we suppress and suppress as opposed to, no, like I need to be real with you. Like, can we chat for a minute? Or like, can I let you know how what happened last week? And I know I've been very much more vocal in professional spaces as of these last 2 years in saying that, no, I'm not okay with how you talk to me. I'm not okay with how this happened, right? And I think at one point in time, I was more palatable and just like, okay, well, I have to endure this in order to rise up or get recognition or get this. And it's like, I y'all hired me for this reason, to be this way and to show up in this way, and this is what I'm gonna do. Everybody might not like that, but I am doing the work to know how to like be graceful, like you said earlier, Tanisha, in certain spaces, but also be firm in my response and in my approach. So that's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, amen to all of that.
Right.
Over here, I don't even know what to say, but I would say, like, for one, I just started reading Women Who Run with Wolves. It's been on my library for a minute now. I picked it up before and I picked it up again. And I would just say, like, for Black women especially, like, acknowledge, to your point, Tyler, like, acknowledge your anger because it's real, and understand there's a reason why this society and this culture does not want us to be tapped into our anger, because anger is essentially an energy force. Like,
It is.
they don't want us to be tapped into it. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why they're intimidated by it. It's similar to why they didn't want slaves reading books. Like, it's that same type of energy. So for one, know that your anger is real. So it has to start with us, like, acknowledging it, validating it for ourselves. We cannot expect anyone else outside of ourselves to validate our anger if we cannot do it for ourselves. I know for me, I moved backwardly for a long time where I was expecting people to validate my feelings. It's like, okay, well, if you're validating them, then now I can validate it because you think
and they must be real,
right?
right?
Right. It's like, no, like, because when you give people the power and control over your narrative as so much as your feelings, like, you're relinquishing so much control. So definitely one, like, you have to acknowledge your anger and understand the power that comes behind that. But like, don't get consumed by it either. Like me, I've learned myself well enough, like, if you take me past a level 5, I'm gonna need 24 to 48 hours to like calm down.
I'll get back with you soon.
I'm gonna get back with you because I'm gonna need a moment to process what just happened and understand, like, okay, how am I perceiving this situation? And, you know, I'm learning the balance between not villainizing myself, but also not victimizing myself either, because I'm learning in some shape or form, not all the time, but we play a part in a role in certain situations on how people treat us or how they respond to us. So I have to take that inventory, like, okay, what was within my control? What did I do? Not what did I do wrong, not did I do well, but just what did I do, so I can be aware, like, all right, now what did this other person do? So I think that's something else, is like, I firmly believe in not like villainizing Black women, but also not victimizing them either, and not pitting them. I'm not trying to turn us into Black Karens and Black Susans where we could just go around whining all the time. No. Because I feel like even in that, as a victim, you're powerless. And I don't want Black women to feel powerless. So there's that. But I think like continuing to have spaces like these, or where we're just talking about what we've gone through and come with the intention to seek to understand And not just because, oh, you're a Black woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or I know what you know. Like, let me actually sit here and listen, because we have similarities in our experiences, but there's some nuances there that we can learn and grow from each other. And then just do the work. Like, it sounds hard, but baby, man, I'm pretty sure. Well, let me not project. But I know for me, when I started doing the work, I'm like, oh, this is the easy part.
Right.
The hard part is living with this shit every day and letting it burden me. That's way harder than actually going to therapy or breathing for like 5 to 10 breaths. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much it. It's just like, one, Black women acknowledge it. It's real. I love that we talked about tone policing a lot in this space. And I would say don't automatically start at a place of being the villain or that you did something wrong. Because I know that's something I'm currently working through, because that's where I always start at is, okay, what did I do so wrong? Because clearly I've done something horribly wrong for this person to treat me this way, for them to abandon me, for them to be dismissive towards me, whatever the case may be. But that's just my spiel. But I thank y'all for joining this.
Thank you.
I'll say thank you.
This was hella dope. I love these conversations. I needed this. This was cathartic.
I needed this too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. That's why I was thinking, like, when you were saying, like, oh, we about to wrap up, I was like, damn, already?
I have to know.
Like, we just started scratching the surface.
Right.
Because I'm good. And that's saying a lot, right? Because this work, it's a lot, but it alleviates the pressure when we can come together and do it as a collective. And you don't have to do it by yourself. Like, I was just talking to my best friend about this the other day, and thank you, Holy Spirit. I think another way to combat the anger is we need to start prioritizing and making space for joy and play.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh my God. I'm like, I didn't realize like how much I don't prioritize just play. Not even just joy, but play.
Right.
And I'm like, because I mean, I'm a goofy personality. So like, I can see how, your personality can trick you into thinking that you play a lot when really you don't. Like, a lot of what you do is heavy lifting, and it's a lot of work, and it causes you to be introspective a lot. But I'm like, dang, I don't do things like go to the bowling alley or just roller skate because I don't know how. But simple shit like that. So I would just say that they definitely making more time for play and joy. Like, I love, Tyler, you mentioned at Mardi Gras, when just being able to hear the sounds and look at the visuals around you and just being grounded in that moment, not even thinking, just being.
Reclaiming our range of emotions. Like, I'm glad you said replacing rage with joy, and not even replacing, but just honoring joy, sadness. Like, there's a season for everything, and we have to like give ourselves space to figure out what those emotions look like in various seasons.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you.